Hi, I'm Fritz Capel with the Capel Brothers, and I'm here to demonstrate a little of what the Chord Cracker can do for you and why you might want to use it. It's basically a tool for analyzing and evaluating chords, and the goal is for it to tell you everything there is to know about that chord, like what notes are in the chord, what voices are sounded on which strings, and what order they're stacked, and all that sort of thing. It understands 70 different types of chords, from majors and minors down to augmented, diminished, 70 different kinds. Works in any tuning, so you can tune your guitar to whatever you like. There's versions available for a number of instruments. The one I'm going to be showing here is one for guitar. They're all basically the same except for a few little differences: the appearance of the neck, the number of strings, things like that. So this is the basic screen that you're going to encounter. And mostly what you'll do is you'll place dots on here for where you're going to put your fingers in the chord that you want to analyze. You can drag them, you can just drop them down. If there's an X, that's a string that's not being played. If there's a dot down there, that's an open string, etc. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we draw a chord that's probably familiar to most of you, a D major chord. So it's showing us on the dots here, it's showing us that that's a D note and an A note and another D note and an F sharp note. And over here, it's identified that that chord is a D major. Now if we tap on this chord over here, now these dots have changed, and it's showing you that that's the root of the chord, that's the fifth, that's another root, and that's a major third. Just a little different view, you get to see what voices they all are. Now maybe we want to go back to seeing what the letters are. Well, that's what this button is here, and it controls what's shown on the dots. So we can go back to note letters. Now this button here lets you select between whether it's using sharps or it's using flats. It's only going to be using one at a time. That's sort of normal for music theory. You either express them all as sharps or you express them all as flats. Normally, it can tell from the context which one to use. So in this case, in a D chord, it always says a DFA, so it's going to say an F sharp. It's not going to say a G flat, because that's just not normally the way that it's looked at. But if you want to override it, in some cases it's ambiguous. It can be used in a couple of different ways. Or maybe you want to override it just because you want to do something crazy, or you just particularly just love flats and you don't care about music theory. Well, that's what this button is for. You can override it, pick a flat, and now this is saying that that's a G flat, which is the same as an F sharp. That's just not normally the way you express it in a D major chord. This button right here gives you access to the chord library, where you can generate any of these 70 different chord types with any root. So you can pick an E minor seventh. Up here you pick the root. Along this thing you pick what type of chord, and up at the very top is kind of the more normal chords: majors, minors, sixths, sevenths, that kind of thing. And then as you scroll down, get more and more obtuse into the really odd and unusual chords. But you can pick among any of those that you like. Once you've picked a chord and you say, well, that's a pretty interesting chord, let's go see what it looks like. Tap on there. You get to see everything about it here back in this screen, what the notes are. Now in this case, there's three things listed over here in the chord, and that's because depending on the context, that could be three kind of different chords. It could be evaluated three different ways, depending on what key you're in and what other chords you're using around it. So by tapping on this, you can pick which of those is the interpretation that you want to run with. So as you can see, as I'm picking this, it's reevaluating the voices, because if you pick a different root, then you have a different second, and a different third, and a different fifth, etc. If that's too deep in music theory, I understand, but you'll get there one day. So you can tap over here to pick which is the interpretation of the chord that you like. Also in this menu, you have a clear button, allows you to just clear everything off. You have a scale button that lets you put a scale up on the neck. We're not going to go too deep into this, but I'll just show you what it looks like. You notice that it's put a lot of little dots on here, each with numbers on them, showing you the scale. You might use that. Let's say that you're working in C and you want to create a chord on the fourth of the key that you're in. So this will show you where is the fourth, and with that you'll probably use a sixth and a first, and so anyway, that's what that might be used for. It does a couple of other things we won't go into. Also in this menu, you can view it as a tab in case you're writing tablature, maybe you're composing something and that's the way you want to express it. You can do a normal chord diagram, common other way to annotate chords. It can show you what it looks like on a staff, if you're into music theory and writing things in regular staff notation. It'll show you that. This one shows you what not only what the chord is and what notes are in it, but what keys it exists in as an aid to helping you figure out, maybe you're trying to figure out what key you're in, or you're trying to figure out other chords that might go with that. That'll show you what keys you're going to find that chord in. And lastly, over here, we have our tuning. Here's where you can adjust if you want to use an alternative tuning, any tuning you like. It's completely arbitrary. You can tune every string. Everything works in every tuning, no exceptions. So you can use these to adjust to your tuning. Here it keeps track of your 10, I think, maybe it's only 9. I think it's 10 most recent tunings. So most people only commonly use a couple of different tunings. You might play with a few, but you'll have your favorites. And so just by tapping on a recent tuning, you can flip back and forth among tunings. So here we want to go see something in Dad-Gad. And try to make ourselves a Dad-Gad chord. So it's interpreting it with that other tuning. That's all I'm going to show you for now. I hope that you got a little bit of a taste of how fun and easy it is to use and how much it can tell you. Enjoy and let us know what you think.